Hello and welcome to At the Heart of Health with Dr. James Markham. In today's well-marketed world, it's hard to know who or even what to believe when it comes to health care. In each program, Dr. Markham, a board-certified behavioral cardiologist, takes a balanced approach using common sense modern medicine and the ultimate source of truth, the Bible, recognizing that at the heart of health is love.
Today we're going to talk about a little bit different aspect of healing. You know, God can heal in many different ways. Sometimes He uses modern medicine. Sometimes He uses all this technology we have. But sometimes God can perform miracles through numerous means. He can use prayers to accomplish healing. Those prayers can help physicians accomplish modern medicine, and healing can occur in many different forms. Today we have Jill Welbern with us, and she has a wonderful story to tell us. Jill, we want to thank you for being at the Heart of Health. Please introduce us to your family first. Tell us about who you are, what you do, where you live, and about your family.
Well, we live in Hendersonville, Tennessee, and my husband's name is John, and we have a little girl who's 4, Ashley Kate, and a son, Jackson, who's 10.
Now, how long have you been married?
We've been married 6 years. 6
years. And do you work at home, or are you out working in the field, or?
I work part-time as a school nurse at the kids' school.
Okay. So you are pretty familiar with medical terminology, or at least you've learned a whole lot. Well, I understand that not long ago you had some interesting things happen, and I got to know you a little bit indirectly through Alma Sasser. And what happened is you probably didn't know any about this, but she says, you know, I have my daughter that's having palpitations. Do you have any recommendations? So, of course, cardiologists always have recommendations. So I made a bunch of recommendations, and one of the recommendations that I made was that she might want to get pregnant. This might sort of change the chemistry of the body. Pregnancy sometimes can help change some of the stressors on the body, which might cause palpitations. So I guess that you did follow that advice.
I did.
And the palpitations went away?
Yes, they did.
And what was the results of that pregnancy? Was that Ashley?
That was Ashley Kate.
Well, tell me, what happened in your lives the last few months here?
Well, it was about a year ago in November, and Ashley Kate was 3, and we started noticing some odd things about her. She was very clumsy, more than what a clumsy child should be, and she started having some body shaking.
A seizure, or just shaking all over?
It was just shaking all over. It wasn't like seizure activity, because she, you know, stayed focused and everything. So we took her to the doctor, and the first doctor that we took her to was not our regular one. He said, well, I think she's got hypoglycemia. Just give her peanut butter every 2 hours and she'll be fine.
Did you try that?
No.
No. Never, you thought that was
No.
not...
The next, you know, we got home from the doctors, and it seemed to be worse. So I called our regular pediatrician the next morning and said, I'm very concerned. So he took us serious and sent us on to a neurologist a couple days later. And the neurologist was concerned as well, because it seemed to be progressing worse. She was falling, and she got to where she couldn't walk across, you know, the living room without just falling over. It was like her legs just didn't work.
And she's still shaking and this at the same time. Okay.
So he put us in the hospital, the neurologist did, and they did scans and MRIs and any tests that they could think of to do, and they could not find a reason for what was going on. So they started to treat us for what they thought at the time was Guillain-Barré syndrome. And while we were in the hospital during that week time, she got to where she couldn't walk at all, and she couldn't even sit up without us supporting her. So it was getting worse, but they didn't know why. So we went through several different treatments that affect the blood-brain barrier, and it started to improve her walking and balance. And
so they did feel like it was something neurologic.
Yes.
So they did feel like it was something that either involved the spinal cord or the brain.
So they sent us home, and that week that we were home, I was sitting on the couch with her, and she looked up at me, and her eyes started to quiver, and they classified that as nystagmus. And I happened to catch it on a video, because when you go to the doctor, it never happens then.
Right.
So I took the video to the neurologist, and I said, something is wrong. We've got to keep looking, something's wrong. And he agreed, and he put us in the hospital, and they ran more tests, and they did a scan specific for a tumor.
Okay. Not a PET scan, was it a PET scan or something even more specialized?
Something even more special, where they put a dye in, and this particular, they were suspicious that it was neuroblastoma.
Okay.
And
what do you think made them suspicious? Just the symptoms and the nystagmus?
Yes, yeah, because it's opsoclonus myoclonus syndrome is
That's a big word.
something that goes along with neuroblastoma in rare cases. And whenever they have that, it's usually they catch the tumor earlier. So that was a good thing. But the bad thing with that is that a lot of times the neurological deficits are permanent.
Oh.
So along with the good news of that, there was the scary side that, you know, this may be permanent. She may not be able to walk like she did several months ago. So they did the test, and we were driving home from the hospital, and we were told it was going to be a couple days before they got the results. And our neurologist called on the way home, and he said they found a tumor.
Now, I'm just curious, how did, on the phone, you know, this is pretty devastating. You know, you already know something's wrong. How did they handle that? I mean, was it? It was really rough.
Yeah. Ashley Kate, during this time, she was having these fits of crying and screaming, and at the time we didn't know it was because she was having pain and didn't know where the pain was or why. So she was screaming, and John is driving, and I'm, you know, trying to get them both to be quiet so I can listen, and it was.
Sounds like a bad day.
It was a bad day.
Yeah.
So they told us to enjoy the Christmas holiday the best we could, and to come back after that, and they would.
So this is pretty close to Christmas. You're getting your whole house ready for Christmas, and then you get this news. Wow.
So we did the best we could through the Christmas holiday. And then we went back into the hospital after that, and they did a tumor resection, because they found out that the tumor was very small. It was the size of a marble.
Now for our audience, how is a tumor resection? How was it done on Ashley?
It was done through, they scoped and went in on the side, and it was on the inside of her rib cage. So when they went in there, they encased it and pulled it out.
And don't they usually have to collapse a lung to get to that?
Yes, they did.
Now that would really devastate me. So they collapse the lung so they can get to the tumor.
So she's got several tiny little marks. It was a question whether if they could get it out that way, and if not, then they would have had to have totally opened her up.
Now this isn't a large person either. I mean, we're talking very, very small, very delicate. Wow, that's sort of incredible. And so what happened after that?
Well, they were able to, at the time, they said, we think we got all of the tumor. But then there was a question back and forth. I don't know if we did, you know. But so before we found out that the tumor was totally gone, the oncologist that was assigned to our case came into the room, which happened to be a room full of people, and Ashley Kate was crying and just kind of having a bad time. And he just broke the news, pulled me aside and said, your daughter's got, it was a tumor, your daughter's got cancer.
Oh my.
And it's hard enough to process in a good environment, but when you've got chaos in the room and
she still had probably a tube in her lungs.
She had a chest tube, and she had IVs in both hands and both feet. She had tubes everywhere. So we had a really hard time with that. So we sought another doctor, and we found another oncologist who was incredible.
Well, I think that's very important, Jill. As providers see, you know, disease all the time, and sometimes we don't see the person and the big picture. You know, it's, to you, you know, it's everything, and it should be to all of us. If we show love, it should be everything. But it's just a shame that you had that. But the good news is that we can tell other people about it, so maybe we can improve and be more sensitive. I know this would make me more sensitive to just about everything.
Well, and what some people may not realize is that you can request another doctor.
Right.
You know, this was a day for him. It was a drop in the bucket for him. This was our life.
Right, it's your life. So you get the diagnosis. It's devastating that you hear about it. What happens after that? I guess the treatment begins?
It was a question of whether they got all the tumor or not. And if there was still tumor there, then she was going to have to go through chemotherapy, which it was scary for us because that's...
Explain chemotherapy for us all here.
Chemotherapy is a series of high-potency medications that kill cancer cells. Okay. But along with that, it kills healthy cells as well.
So we don't really want to have
that.
So
we didn't want to go down that route, but I mean, you know, whatever we had to do.
Right.
But we talked with the surgeon, and he said, I got the entire tumor. He said, I don't know what anybody else is talking about, but it's gone.
Well, didn't that make you feel good, someone with that much confidence?
Yes, yes. And so they did another test. The dye would be taken up by the cancer cells, and there were no cancer cells. So they got all of the tumor, and we didn't have to go through chemo.
Wow. And now this happened, you know, Christmas time. What month are we in by the time they tell you we're not going to have to do much more?
January.
So January. So this has happened over a very short period of time. Lots of things have happened. Wow. Now, at this point on, it's more or less surveillance. They're going to keep surveillance on it?
At that point, they said for the first year, we'll scan her and do CAT scan and MRI every 3 months. And then once we get a year of being cancer-free, we'll go to every 6 months. And then we'll do that for several years. And then we'll go to every year, and that'll be through her late teen
Will
years.
she ever not ever have to be scanned again?
Neuroblastoma generally affects children. So by the time she is in her late teens, they feel pretty comfortable that it would not come back.
Well, this is very interesting. We're going to go to a quick break, and we'll be right back after a few moments. We're going to talk to Jill, learn about her family, how she's coped with it. Also, we're going to learn about how love played a part in this dramatic healing. I'm Dr. James Markham, and I talk to patients every day who want to know the truth in healthcare. On our website, heartwiseministries.org, you can have your questions answered. You can read my blog where I talk about interesting and controversial subjects in medicine. You might choose to go to the radio or television sections and learn more about all sorts of health topics. Take the time and go to heartwiseministries.org. There's a place for modern medicine, but that's not enough. There's a place for lifestyle, but that's not enough. The real truth in medicine, the real truth in healing comes from that relationship with the Heavenly Father. That relationship can show us the balance, when to use modern medicine, when to use lifestyle, and to use it for the right reasons. Well, this book gives the solution to the healthcare dilemma. It answers the question, why am I sick? How do I get better? And how can I have ultimate healing?
You can easily spend $90 on an expensive meal out. How about investing $89.94 in your future? Just think about the possibility of coming off those prescription pills and getting rid of all the side effects. Think about feeling better than you have ever felt in your life. This is all possible for you. For only $89.94, you will receive a 7-part DVD series, Weight Management by the Book, a 30-lesson workbook with over 100 recipes, and if ordered today, exercise tubes will be included for free to help with your journey. There are many programs available, but this unique program has identified the truth about how to manage weight. This program is not available in stores. This limited offer will not last long. Pick up the phone now and dial 877-504-9628. Operators are standing by. This call will change your life forever.
Welcome back to At the Heart of Health. We're learning about healing. We're also learning about love. Jill and her family, they've been sharing their remarkable story about healing from neuroblastoma. Jill, it's been interesting, and just to recap things, it sounds like late last year you found out about this devastating illness. They made the diagnosis. Treatment has begun. My question to you, I don't think I could have coped that well. What kind of mechanisms did you have in your life to cope with all of this that's going on you? How did you make it through it without going crazy?
I think the answer to that is prayer, and leaning on God. There was nowhere else for us to go but to fall to our knees and pray. And we had numerous people praying for us, with us.
Now, when you say numerous people, what do you really mean, numerous people?
We had people all over the world praying for us. We have a website that we have used to update people about Ashley Kate, and from people forwarding on that website, we got people all over the world. We got soldiers in Iraq who were praying for us, and you think, well, what a sacrifice. They're over there fighting for us, but they're praying for us.
Now tell me about this website, because there might be other families up here that want to hear about this website. It seems like that was a big support.
It was. It's called Caring Bridge.
And what is Caring Bridge? What did you do? Did you have to, submit stuff? Is there a webmaster? How did you work with Caring Bridge?
It's a website where you can go and sign up, and you create your own web page from it, and they walk you through it. It's very user-friendly, but it's for families who have children with illnesses, adults with critical illnesses, terminal, any kind of, any tragedy, where you can keep people updated and kind of keep linked to family and friends.
So how often would you journal or write down your experiences?
I tried to do it daily, because that was kind of my way of dealing with everything, is writing it down and writing down my feelings and what I was going through. Now,
did you just stick to the medical, or did you get to the personal aspects of the...
Very personal. I put...
because the whole world is reading this, right?
But to understand what we're going through, you have to understand what was happening in our hearts. Right. And so I did not have a problem putting that out there.
And that helped you through this? And I guess people could write back with their responses.
People can leave messages, and that was so helpful to us, because when on a bad day, we couldn't wait to get up and go look at the computer and see what messages people had left. And it was always, we're praying for you, we're there for you.
And they're still there, right?
Yes.
Can other people see some of the things?
Yes, they can.
Well, what a great testimony for all the people that now, how would you hear about that? Now, for someone in Iraq, if they didn't know you, would they just happen to stumble on that?
I think probably the way it happened is people forwarded the email on saying, please pray for our friends. These are people we've heard about. This is a website where you can go and read more about them.
So you had now, I heard that at one time you had a lot of people come over to your house and pray for you. Tell me about that.
We did. We had a really good friend organize a prayer for us, and we had no idea. And she had just called and said, hey, be up at 8 o'clock, dressed. We're going to have breakfast. I'm bringing donuts over. I answered the door, and I looked out, and there were 80 people in our front yard, and they made a prayer circle around our house, and they prayed for us.
Wow. Now, that had to really encourage you as far as all this. Now, you've talked about prayer and how you fell back on God. How is your relationship with God and your spiritual journey? How's it changed over the last months if you've gone through all this?
I think it strengthened it. You cannot go through what we've gone through and not feel closer to God for what He's brought you through. We value each day. Each day is a gift from God, and there are no guarantees for tomorrow. So we look at every moment as precious.
Now, Jill, I've worked with some families as a cardiologist that when something bad happens, they get angry at God or angry at the world. It seems like your family did not have this happen.
Well, we really didn't go through why me, why Ashley Kate. It was more of, let's get through this. We're gonna do this. Let's get through it, and totally giving it to God.
Now you have Ashley Kate has an older brother named John. Jackson. How's Jackson been doing?
Jackson has done remarkable. He's very supportive of her. there have been some times where he felt that she was a little bit of a celebrity because
Right.
she has a website. They did several newspaper articles about her, and that's been a little hard on him because he wants the attention too.
Now, is there things that he can do special to, because that would be very traumatic if little sister has all this attention, all this happening. What are you guys doing to help him realize that, you know, what he's feeling is a normal thing to feel, and it's okay, and we're going to get through this? Is there any special counseling or treatment that he's been receiving for all this?
Well, in my research on the internet, I found a website called Super Sibs.
Okay.
And it is an organization that caters to siblings of cancer patients. And they send him things several times a month, you know, little treats and little cards, and they send him a trophy for being a great sibling. And when it just makes him feel special, like he counts, he matters in this whole process.
Well, I guess you discovered that, like most people, that when we're talking about health and healing, you know, it's just not one person that has the illness. I know if my little girl had the illness, I would rather have the illness myself than feel her pain. And families don't really, and when they go through this, they know what it is. Tell me about John and how your husband John's gone through this and how he's sort of helped keep glue together. What has he done, and how is his relationship with you and the kids? How's things changed now?
I think we're much stronger as a family. John has been the glue holding this family together. He's a very strong person, but when you see your baby hurting, it's hard. There were emotions, but I think our family has really grown from it. And I would never say, I wish we hadn't been through this, because the strength that we have, the way our family has grown, has been incredible.
No one wants anyone to be ill.
No.
But you know, God all wants us to be healed permanently, and I think that's so special about this healing power of love, that even sometimes, you know, modern medicine and whatever cannot heal physically, but we all promise that we're all going to be healed someday. Now, someone was telling me that John enjoys dancing. Can you tell me about his dancing prowess?
Well, he has something special he does with Ashley Kate, and they've done this for as long as, you know, she's been in the world. He'll pick her up and he'll dance with her. And right after we got the cancer diagnosis, she looked up at him and said, "Daddy, will you dance with me?"
I guess he did.
He did.
Yeah. Well, that is so special, because I think that's one thing that she's going to have with him forever, you know, dancing with. But it sounds like your family has been dancing with a higher power here. And it sounds like you've been able to touch a lot of people from Iraq to all over through this website. You know, we hear so much about bad in this world, you know, how things aren't going well. And, you know, we hear about the economy, we hear about health care and how everything's up in arms. But I think that this lets us know who is really in charge of the universe. Now, there's probably mothers out there that also have children that are sick, and some of them might not have diagnoses. What would you have to say to them?
Keep pushing. Mother's intuition is everything. You know your child better than anyone. And you know if something's not quite right. Keep pushing, keep asking. If one doctor doesn't have the answer, go to another one.
Right.
If we hadn't pushed, then it may have been too late for Ashley Kate.
Because you had a very narrow chance to resect the entire tumor and save chemotherapy. And I think that's sort of a miracle in itself. Now, I'm curious, I don't know the answer, this is cardiology. Is neuroblastoma something that runs in families, or genetic testing or anything like that needs to be done, or it just happens?
No, it just happens and they don't know why. It is it's a high reoccurring cancer, but it's a rare childhood cancer.
And it sounds like the sooner they find out about it, the better the prognosis. Wow, you just takes, you know, that dancing just takes my breath away when I think about, you know, how our Heavenly Father wants us to dance with Him every day, and how if we have that dance and that love that's involved and that relationship, and it sounds like the relationship of the family has definitely been strengthened. Now I want to get back to the website a little bit, because that sounded like it was a very powerful healing force, mainly for you and your family. What was that website again?
It's caringbridge.org.
Caringbridge.org. And this is, now, if we have people that want to watch this program and go on the Caring Bridge, they can still see your story. Now, are you still posting and writing things and keeping
I do.
updated?
I don't do it daily, but I do post on there frequently.
That
to let
sounds like
people
it was
know.
such a large healing force in your life. I had another friend a few months ago that did something like that, and it was very, and you don't have to answer the same question over and over again. Everyone can just go to that site and sort of know what's going on and know what some of the needs are. This is a fantastic story. Wow, thank you for sharing. I know this was the easiest thing to do today. You know, it's hard to get in front of a camera, it's hard to share your life. But the reason it's important is because if we don't share love, if we don't share experiences, others that might be in the same boat might not go to help. Because now you and your family will be treatments for other families that might need help, and they might go through similar crises. Well, thank you, Jill. Well, it's about time for us to wrap up At the Heart of Health today. And really, at the heart of health is love, and love is a universal treatment. And I hope by this story someone's been touched, and at least they know where to go help. And if your child's having symptoms, go get someone to help out. Don't say no for an answer, and turn to the real source of healing, God, for the source of love. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, I'm Joe Coaches. If you enjoy Heartwise Ministry as much as I do, you just might want to become involved. We would first really appreciate your prayer that God would continue to bless and lead this unique ministry. Also, it is very important that you think about becoming a financial partner supporting us so that we can take this message throughout the world to everyone. Thank you.